Which one of y'all stole this here boot?
I did. I did. I did.
Was it great? Did you lose that thing today? Did the owner have a toupee? Was it filled all up in hay? Did you buy it when you were in Bombay? Is your birthday in May?
Yes.
Once upon a time, outside a ranch in Morrisonville, there lived three handsome cowboys. Bubba, Bruce, and Bill. These buckaroos were brothers, and they lived with their pops, herding cattle, playing Scrabble, tending to their saddle shop. Now back when they were only tots, their mom up and left, headed for the bigger town. She was tired of the West. And poor Bill, being youngest, got stuck with all the mess. Cooking, cleaning, sweeping, being the woman of the nest.
I'm a cowboy,
He would demand and try to put his foot down.
meant to lasso steers and scare out outlaws out of this here town.
But they just laugh at his plight. They say,
You trying to pick a fight? Small enough too. Plus, there's 2 of us and 1 of you.
then they turn, lean back on their haystack, pull their hats over their eyes, prop up their feet, and wait for a reply. Now Bill was such an honest fella, truest cowboy that ever was. Earnest, kind, quite a fine, compared to his brothers. But no lady ever know that he was honest and good looking. He was always busy shoveling manure and a cooking.
Mail.
Well, then one day, word hit the street. This sheriff's daughter wanted to meet all the men of Morrisonville to see if there's one she found ideal. And so the sheriff's daughter decided to throw a shindig like no other. She invited everything that breathes within 30 miles and his brother. As you might imagine, every chap in town wanted to go. The sheriff's daughter, Cindy, was the only girl they knew. Every woman in her right mind is up and headed east, tired of dust and tumbleweed, and outlaws shooting in the street. They all wanted a damsel. They were men on a mission. Some wanted her for the cleaning, others wanted her for a kissing.
I wish I had a woman to make me up a bed. I wish I had a woman to bake me garlic bread. I wish I had a woman to knit me a sweater or make me a hot pot of chili beans. My socks are wearing thin and I need mending in my jeans. If I had me a woman, I think that makes some fellas think I was the greatest cowboy. Cowboy? I bet I could make them think I was a cowboy. Make them turn their heads, take a look, and romp a book. And I hear the sheriff's daughter Cindy is a mighty fine cook.
Well, they all had their different reasons for why they had to find a wife. Mostly because men just need someone else to run their life. But Bill was different than the other folk. He wanted more than just to be refined. He wanted someone to love and protect. Why, this Bill, he was one of a kind. So all the men began to practice in their manners and first impressions that they had intended to use on Cindy in hopes to win her affections. Well, finally the big day arrived. The men were primping to perfection. You would have thought the Queen of England was coming for inspection.
What'd you do?
That night, as Bubba and Bruce were walking out the door, they made sure to knock the beans Bill had been cooking onto the floor.
I guess this means you can't go to the hootenanny. That's okay, you ain't suited for the ladies anyway.
So Bill was stuck at home with loads of work to do. His brothers had made sure there was no way he'd make it to the ball Cindy was throwing. They wanted her for their own, so they told him,
make sure to have those beans cooked before we get home.
Then there was silence. Bill was all alone.
All by myself. All by myself. What's the next line? All by myself. Hey, what's the next line? All by myself.
Then, in that nanosecond, Bill realized what he had to do. He was a man, and he would prove it. He would take no more abuse.
I'll go to that shindig if it's the last thing I'll do. I'll just put these beans on low and let them cook nice and slow like.
He gave his watch a glance.
If I get ready in 10 minutes, I might have a chance.
So he dug through his trunk to find his finest pair of slacks. He searched for his Mach 5 and shaved off his mustache. He sprayed on some fine cologne that he kept for just such an event. Trimmed his nose hair, but without a mirror. Said a prayer and went. When he arrived at the barnyard ball, his brothers were trying their best to impress. To show up in front of Miss Cindy. But she sat there, completely unimpressed. Then their eyes met across the room. She knew she could not ignore him. Who was this mysterious man? She found herself walking towards him. Soon Bill was right in front of the girl, but he just stood there like a cow. He wanted to tell her she was pretty, but he had forgotten how.
Nice to meet you. My name's Cindy. You knew him, Melissa?
Once again, he wanted to speak, but all he could say was,
Bill.
Then all at once he came to his senses,
May I?
and she replied, At that moment he realized it was 11:59. If he didn't leave right away, he wouldn't get home in time. He had left the beans on the stove, and if he got home too late, they would be burned crispy black. He had to end the date. So he tipped his hat to Miss Cindy, said farewell, and left. Poor Cindy, she was about to cry. When she saw his cowboy boots on the step. The next day, when they sat down for chili, it was about time for lunch. Bruce gave his brother a pat and said,
You You didn't miss much. Yeah, I let her down easy. She didn't take offense. I said, Cindy, you're great. Can't we just be friends? She ain't that nice a girl.
The boys just gave each other a glare. Bill knew they were just sore losers and didn't tell them he had been there. Then a huge commotion, horse galloping through. Then a huge commotion.
You're on sheriff's business to find whose foot fits in this shoe. Why do you ask?
And the cowboy got a frown.
The owner left it at the hoedown last night. We're trying to find the owner.
The two brothers looked at each other and then began to root.
That's my boot. I thought I lost the boot.
So they grabbed the boot and took turns trying to put their foot inside the shoe. But all they got were blisters, broken toes,
What
black,
about Bill?
and bruised.
Bill? Nah, he was gone.
And the cowboy raised an eyebrow.
Here, Bill, try this arm.
So Bill tried on the boot, and as you know, it was just the right size. In fact, the other matching boot was already on his right. So Bill and Cindy had a wedding. Bill made his brothers attend. Then they rode off into the sunset.